So the opportunities there, you know, when your furnace breaks down in the winter and your house starts getting cold, those guys are pretty important, aren't they? So that's those are jobs that are always going to be there. So so the nice thing about one nice thing about skilled trades is in 2008 the state of Iowa said that those people have to have a license. If you're a plumber or electrician, you have to have a state license. So and then to get a license, you have to go through an apprenticeship. So an apprenticeship is where you get a job and you work under a journeyman or a master. Let's just say electrician for now. You work under them. The apprenticeship is run by the Department of Labor, and you need 8,000 hours of on-the-job training and then 4 levels of classroom training to become a journeyman. So basically, you know, you could start right out of high school, maybe get a job as a plumber, electrician, get into apprenticeship, and 4 years after working, you can apply for to take the state exam. If you take the state exam and pass it, you can be a journeyman, electrician, plumber, or whatever. So it's an alternative to maybe not going to a 4-year school and getting a degree, but some people that doesn't fit, you know, and that's okay. You can make a very good life, have a very good lifestyle with being a tradesman. So again, the other side of it, the manufacturing, has really changed in the last few years, I think. I think the concept of, I know when I was growing up, if you're working in this dark, grungy factory, that dreary place where it'd be depressing, has really changed too. And I know Scott will talk a little bit about that. So with that, I'm going to let the 2 experts talk, and feel free to ask questions to these guys, because they know a lot about, they've been in the business quite a while. So, Zach.
All right, plumbing and HVAC. It's a field that you can go into that is always going to be around. There's always going to need to be plumbers, and there's always going to need to be heating and cooling experts to take care of a lot of things. I'll just specifically talk a little bit about my shop and what we do, because that'll kind of correspond with what plumbers and HVAC experts do. What we do is a lot of commercial work. There's basically 2 types. There's commercial, and then there's also residential. Residential is obviously your homes. Building homes, putting the plumbing and the heating into a specific home. Commercial is buildings like this school. Specifically for us, this is a good one to tag for us, because we actually did all the plumbing and HVAC in this school when it was upgrading and the additions of the new gymnasium were up. We did all the heating and the plumbing throughout this addition and the remodel. What we do is, for the plumbing side, we do all the piping. Any type of water piping, any type of what's called waste and vent, which is hooked to anything that drains water or toilets or sewers and stuff like that. And then that also goes into what's called hydronic piping and stuff like that. That's run to heating equipment. All these things are taught and learned through on-the-job training, and as was mentioned before, in the classroom training. When Iowa adopted that state licensing, it was a hurdle for a lot of people, because usually you just got on-the-job training. With this new style of training with the classroom side, it's benefited a lot of people. out in the public and the end users, from the standpoint, if you didn't have a good leader or you didn't have a good trainer that you worked under, sometimes you were taught wrong, and there's different times when you might have been trained to do some wrong things. With this classroom training and stuff like that, they've really upgraded the knowledge of the people getting their licenses. So that classroom training that we were speaking about has really benefited the people that go out into the field, because they're more knowledgeable and they have a better understanding of how systems work and stuff like that. The classroom, I believe they go, it's for the first couple of years, it's a six-week course, I believe. And then after that, it basically follows the school year, and they go on in the evening after you get done with work on Wednesday nights. With that classroom training, they help you pass that test. And with passing that test and getting a license, then essentially the sky's the limit. I mean, once you have a plumbing or HVAC license, that's something that nobody can ever take away from you. It's kind of like getting your diploma when you graduate high school. You can go to different states and use that same license. You'll have to apply once you get to a state, or you can stay in the state of Iowa and use that license here in the state of Iowa. Whether it's plumbing, whether it's HVAC, or whether it's electrical, whatever interests you guys. This trade side of things, I'll tell you what, it's hard to find young people that want to come out and learn a trade and work. And I think it's hard to find those people because they're not educated, which thank your counselors and thank your teachers for bringing us in, because you get a lot of kids aren't educated on there's other fields that you can go into other than going to, per se, a 4-year college and going into business management, accounting, stuff like that. Sometimes there's people like myself that are more hands-on and want to learn a trade, no matter what it is. And the jobs out there for these fields are always going to be there. They're important pieces of every community. They're important pieces of throughout every state. You have to have plumbers, you have to have HVAC professionals, and you have to have electricians. I can't stress enough that if you're interested in any of those things, to pursue it. Because I'll give you an example. In this area, you go through your apprenticeship and you go through your classroom time, and when you get done and you get your license, in this area, plumber or HVAC, I can speak of, they make an hourly wage of anywhere from $16 to $30 an hour. So there's a wide range, and as you grow and as you move up and get more experience, that wage increases too, depending on the company you're with. You work through that apprenticeship. The apprenticeship, there's minimums on the apprenticeship for what you get paid. The minimums from what you get paid are, it's $11 for a first year, $12 for a second year, $13 obviously for a third year, and $14 for a fourth year. Now those are minimums, and I don't want you to get stuck on the money side of things, but I want you to see how, as you go through the process and you become more experienced and you get your license, how you can grow. Because if you don't go to college and you just jump into wherever, going to Walmart, working there, I don't know, some of the other jobs around town, you hit a point where you're topped out. One popular one that a lot of people, I don't know, some people work in McDonald's and some people go around and those are great jobs. There are some good jobs out there in those fields. But as a trade, getting into a trade, you can keep growing, and the growth of your knowledge is correspondent with the growth of your wage. So there's a lot of things out there that you can do. On the HVAC side, that apprenticeship is basically the same thing. Electrical, I'm not an electrician, but I can speak from the standpoint through the trade, there's growth through that as well. There's what they call Davis-Bacon wage scales, and if you go to different parts of Iowa or different parts throughout the United States, you can look up different wage scales that are an average of what tradesmen are working here in Iowa or across the board of the whole United States. So, not to pinpoint everything on money, but a little bit what you make and what you can earn is what kind of makes this go around, with the whole aspect of that you get this trade and you have this license that no one can ever take away from you. So it's a good thing. If you don't feel like going to a four-year school and you're interested on hands-on stuff, don't be afraid to check out some of the different trades that you can go into and apprenticeships that you can do. Are you guys have any questions for me?
So you're earning money while you're learning.
You're earning
So
money while
you're
you're
earning
learning.
a decent wage right out of high school
While you are learning.
while you're learning it.
Correct.
So
Yep. And guys, I went to college and then I graduated a 4-year degree. My two brothers that are in the trades with me, they didn't go to college. They went right into the trade. And I at the end of the day when I was done, I was happy to have that diploma, but I had a lot of bills that went along with it. And those guys, my brothers, that are doing the same thing as me, went right into the trade and started earning money as they were learning. And at the end of the day, they didn't have this big lump sum bill. If you get in with different companies, our company will pay for your schooling as you go through the apprenticeship, and that's different. Each company is different. Not all companies will do that, but as you go through the apprenticeship, we pay for your apprenticeship classes that you take, as long as you go to class and as long as you pass the class. If you don't pass the class and you don't go to class, then there's a reimbursement that you gotta pay back. But as long as you go to class and you pass the class, we pay for all the schooling. So there's opportunities out there, is what I'm trying to say. Keep a lookout for all the different things that you can do through trades, and plumbers, HVAC, electricians. That's just the beginning. I mean, there's a lot of trades you can go into. The construction side is just the side that I'm familiar with and that I'm here to speak about today. So, okay. Anything else? All right.
Thanks, Zach.
yes, thank you.
Okay. Anybody heard of Viking pump? Have you? What do you think we pump?
Vikings.
Vikings, there you go. Pass this around. This is just, I want you to pay attention to that page. That's kind of, you can start down here. It's kind of some of the things we pump that you don't think about. You know, you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you probably pump your toothpaste. The shingles on your house are probably pumped by a Viking pump. We sell tons of pumps to pump chocolate. Chocolate is very abrasive. So Hershey's and Nestle's and all those companies are buying a lot of pumps from us. Plus, you'll see our pumps in a nuclear submarine. You'll see our pumps in an oil field. It's all over the gamut. We pump everything there is to pump but water. So, Viking started, it's a 105-year-old company. It started here in Cedar Falls where the fire department was, or is, in Cedar Falls. 19th Street used to be a rock quarry 100 years ago. And the first pump was made to pump the water out of that quarry, and it's back in 1911, I guess it was, so a long time ago. So ever since then, Viking has grown and been, we're a worldwide company now. There's about 550 employees in the Cedar Falls area that work in various jobs. One of our biggest areas is our manufacturing plant. We have over 220 some people in that plant that are running machine tools, assembling pumps, fixing machine tools, painting pumps. It's all over the gamut. One of the important jobs, they're all important at Viking, but we have machine tools that are called CNC, so they're run basically by computer. When we talk about the trades, we talk about a machinist trade, right? So that's a skill where you'll take metal and form it into something that, like what we do, is pump parts. So we have a foundry that pours the parts. We'll take those parts and we'll make them into pump parts and then sell them for our customers in all different types of materials, from cast iron to stainless steel to waspaloy, hastelloy, all kinds of exotic materials, so they can pump acid or nuclear waste or paint or ink or food or whatever it may be. So we'll talk about machinist job. That's a skill. You have to work in very tight tolerancing. So when you're making your parts, you're making things that have to go together, right? So at the end of the line, when you go to assemble a pump, all the parts have to be made to a certain specification, and that is done by a machinist. Our machinists, most of them are coming from us from Hawkeye or any other tech school that will give you a 2-year degree where you learn the basic elements of machining, where you learn what the tools are, what the requirements are, some NC machining, parts of programming part of it. Machining used to be a very, I don't want to say labor-intensive, heavy, dirty. That's all changed. It's, if you come to Viking Pump, you'll see it's very bright. Safety is our #1 concern. You don't have to lift heavy things. It's very clean. It's an 8-hour day. You go to work, you leave, and you go back home. And, our machinists start anywhere from $20 an hour, and I think they work up to $25 an hour. And you have your benefits on top of that. You have vacation, you have medical insurance, all the things that a family needs, or whatever it may be. What interested me about being a machinist, I worked there 37 years. I went out of high school, went to work at Viking Pump. Then I went out to Hawkeye and got an NC programming degree to where I could move up through the ranks at Viking Pump to where now I'm a manager in a PE lab out there. But it's been really fun. I've gotten to, I like to work hands-on. I like to do the programming of the machines and make the parts. So there's other aspects besides being machinists, see programmers, and they'll sit and work with CAD/CAM. I don't know if you guys have ever had the chance to mess around with CAD or CAM, to where you're drawing certain parts or you're bringing in 3D models, and then you run them through the software to machine the part. Very good job, fun job. You get to travel. I've traveled all over the world, to China, Japan, Ireland, working in different facilities, looking at different machine tools. A machine tool is a very expensive piece of equipment. We'll spend anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million on a machine tool. So when we talk about our operators being trained, go ahead.
Just one?
Just one. Yep. So when we talk about machinists being a very important part of that, they have to know what they're doing, right? You're putting a part in this machine, you're drilling and tapping and boring or whatever it may be to make this part. And if cutting metal is kind of a tricky thing. You got to hold on to it good and tight. You got to have a tool that's going to go in there and cut it. So that's why our machinists get paid a lot of money. It's because they're responsible for that machine while they're making parts. If they have a hiccup, you know, each machine has a computer tied to it. That's how the operator interacts with the machine tool. So they're in there putting in different things, if they're modifying the NC program, or if they're adjusting the tool, or whatever it may be. If they do it wrong, and something happens to that machine tool, then they're responsible for that, right? And some of those decisions that they have to make, or skills that they have to have, are very important, because if the machine breaks down and we have to fix it, then depending on what has to be fixed or how long it takes, our customers down the line then will suffer because we won't get their pumps on time. So it's a pretty important role. So that's why we look at people that come into IT with some kind of machining background. And I can tell you probably the last 30 people that we've hired have had either experience in machining, or have taken a 2-year class at Hawkeye, or some other type of technical school that's a 2-year degree. And they do very well. They move on to be programmers, manufacturing engineers, designers, drafters. Because once you have that experience of being a machinist, that opens the door to a whole bunch of other support functions that go along with being a machinist. So we have at Viking 6 CNC programmers and 4 manufacturing engineers, and every one of them came off a shop floor somewhere after gaining all the experience on how to cut metal, and use their expertise to advance themselves to a different job. So there's all different ways to make a career in your life, right? I, for one, wanted hands-on. I wasn't ready for college when I graduated from high school at 18. And getting into the trades like that have helped me through my life have a good, I want to say, career. Lived in Cedar Falls my whole life. Actually came to this school a long time ago. So as you're looking at your future, explore all options. You know, if you're a hands-on type of person, or you like to play with CAD/CAM, or be in that type of a role, those are all good roles to be in. And the job market in the next 20 years is going to be really good for that. So, what questions do you have of me? Anything? All right. Thank you.
What classes would you recommend that they take in high school to prepare them?
I would do anything shop related,
Okay.
industrial tech, anything like that, and math. Math is very
Lots of math.
important. And it's not like you have to figure out very complicated equations or anything like that. It just helps you understand reading a blueprint, or how a CAD system is going to work, as far as where you got to put holes, or you got to put different spots on that NC program to make it work. But math is a very important part of being a machinist. So, but any industrial tech gets you hands-on with machinery of any kind, whether it be woodworking or metalworking.
Okay, thank you so much, you
Thanks,
guys.